So Trump is threatening Joe Biden with arrest and prosecution. But are you surprised?
But this guy went around giving everybody pardons. And you know, the funny thing, maybe the sad thing, is he didn't give himself a pardon. And if you look at it, it all had to do with him.
Okay, let me hear you say now that Biden's pardon of his family and respected colleagues was unwise and unnecessary. Trump is mentally ill and will strike out at anything and anyone.
In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals.
Trump attacked this bishop for simply stating facts about America's undocumented workforce, whom without our economy would crumble.
The so-called bishop who spoke at the National Prayer Service on Tuesday morning was a radical left hardline Trump hater. She brought her church into the world of politics in a very ungracious way. She was nasty in tone and not compelling or smart. She failed to mention the large number of illegal migrants that came into our country and killed people. Many were deposited from jails and mental institutions. It's a giant crime wave that is taking place in the USA. Apart from her inappropriate statements, the service was a very boring and uninspiring one. She's not very good at her job. She and her church owe the public an apology.
Jesus. And his defense of Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon tells you all you need to know about him. Navarro defied a congressional subpoena for records and testimony regarding the January 6th attack at the Capitol. He could have shown up and taken the fifth, but he wanted to show Fat Donnie he was loyal. And Bannon, give me a break. This slovenly dressed hump stole money from a fund that consisted of donations by MAGA idiots to build a wall that was never built. He was convicted by a jury and pardoned by tiny fingers. But Trump suggesting that he will go after Biden as payback for the Justice Department's indictment of him, well, it's predictable and dangerous. This ongoing shit show that marches to the beat of this sociopath is off the rails and perils the country and maybe the world. And it's just the first week.
Well, Ari Fleischer this morning was interviewing with Brian, talking to Brian, and he said, we've learned in this election that who voted for Kamala? The uber wealthy, the college educated, and the ones without religion.
So who voted for Harris? The uber wealthy, the college educated, and the ones without religion? So from that, am I to infer that Trump's people are poor, uneducated Bible readers? How frightening is that?
If a man also lie with mankind as he lieth with the woman, both of them have committed an abomination, they shall surely be put to death.
Okay, step by step. The uber wealthy, did you watch the inauguration with the three richest people in the world on their knees before Donnie diapers? And the uneducated? Well, that I believe.
I love the poorly educated.
But here's the rub. You don't need a college education to be educated. You have to be curious. Everything you need to know about economics, science, vaccines, and the climate is available online at highly respectable vetted sites like NIH or the Wall Street Journal or the World Health Organization.
What is this one?
Withdrawing from the World Health Organization.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah, but now you see the problem. When you have people who are lazy and unwilling to learn and they'd rather listen to this.
There are demonic forces.
Well, I think you see the point.
Middle America does like God. Middle America might not have gone to college, but they are wonderful people. They're God-fearing people. They're not deplorables. They're not, They're not garbage. They're hardworking people that are trying to put food on the table for their family, and they can't afford the food in the grocery store. So Democrats are now saying some of them are flipping out, losing their minds, cutting their hair, having protests. But you have a few Democrats like Congressman Seth Moulton, Democrat from Massachusetts or Maine. MA is Maine, right? And he says this to the New York Times: Democrats spend way too much time trying not to offend anyone rather than being brutally honest about the challenges many Americans face. I have two little girls. I don't want them getting run over on a playing field by a male or formerly male athlete.
You see, that is my point. There's a war in Ukraine with a country that has 10,000 nukes pointed at us. There's 300 million guns in the U.S. and a mass shooting every day. There's a network of misinformation about vaccines and masks after a pandemic that killed 1 million Americans and a potential bird flu that could potentially kill 30 million more. And Fox News and Trump are talking about trans people, and even when they do, they get it wrong.
Your kid goes to school and comes home a few days later with an operation. The school decides what's going to happen with your child. And you know, many of these childs 15 years later say, what the hell happened? Who did this to me?
All of you out there saying, I've just had enough, so you turn off the news and pretend it's not happening. Well, I'm guessing you're not black, brown, LGBT, or a young woman living in Texas, because for these Americans, they are in the MAGA crosshairs. And I mean that literally.
Hillary wants to essentially abolish the Second Amendment. By the way, and if she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is, I don't know. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face.
And apparently, anyone else who didn't kneel before this dotardly hump is disloyal, and he's coming after you.
You know, some of the people that were most loyal to me are people that I didn't think would be. Some of the people that were least loyal to me are people that I think I would have treated them differently. I think I would have treated different groups differently. I would have wiped the floor with the guys that weren't loyal, which I will now do, which is great. You know, I love getting even with people.
Biden didn't pardon himself for 2 reasons. The first is the jury is out as to whether a president can actually pardon himself, a thought that crossed Tiny Finger's mind back in 2018.
As has been stated by numerous legal scholars, I have the absolute right to pardon myself.
But the second reason Biden didn't pardon himself is he's an honorable man. He's a father, a decent human being. He did nothing wrong. And in fact, while Diaper Boy was foobarring the COVID response, Biden was making plans for vaccines and the imminent recession that followed the PPP payouts. Trump received an unconditional discharge for his criminal conviction in New York, meaning he won't face fines or prison or other penalties. But he is a registered convicted felon on 34 counts of falsifying business records to conceal a payment to an adult film star. Biden, on the other hand, stood up to a dictator who murdered men, women, and children, resuscitated an economy, giving it 6 quarters of plus 4% growth, where Trump never had 3%. He doubled the Dow Jones during 4 years, halted the spread of COVID, and the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 was passed by a bipartisan Congress.
By the way, this was an amazing moment. Traditionally, the outgoing president will leave a letter for the incoming president. Obama left a note for Trump. Trump left one for Biden, but no one knew if Biden left one for Trump until Trump was sitting at his desk and a Fox News reporter asked about it.
Did President Biden leave you a letter?
He may have. Wait. Don't they leave it in the desk? I don't know. Oh.
What's in there?
Thank you, Peter. It could have been years before we found it. Wow. Thank you.
Can you read that on the outside?
Maybe we should all read it together.
Let's read it.
Well, maybe I'll read it first and then make that determination.
That sounds great.
Peter, thank you very much. I may not have seen this for months.
This is funny and it's frightening. Not only does Trump not have a clue, but he'll attack anyone who does.
Damn right.
I'm as mad as hell. This is not a normal election.
Whether the women like it or not.
Suck my fat one.
This isn't their Republican Party anymore.
I don't want to talk about this stuff.
Am I wrong?
They're eating the dogs.
You're an idiot!
I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.